Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It's match day again. It feels as though, this is what I love about the season being back. It feels as though it was only a couple of hours ago that we finished watching Chelsea dismantle Barnsley in a 6-0 Carabao Cup tie in the third round at Stamford Bridge. Things get a little bit more serious now. We got a Premier League trip to the Hawthorns, and we all remember that magical night at the Hawthorns where Azpilicueta crosses it in for Michy Batshuayi. Chelsea fans enter a state of delirium in the away end. Chelsea win the Premier League. And today, we are back at the Hawthorns, and it's an exciting match where we see what we did in midweek. We've still got a few players out injured. Frank Lampard has come out and said that both Pulisic and Ziyech will not be featuring this weekend. But there is optimism in the Chelsea camp right now. Once we get rid of all the irrational thoughts of that Liverpool defeat last weekend, we can look at the positives of what the early stages of this season has taught us about the Chelsea team moving forward. And this is a test, you know, it's a newly promoted club. Newly promoted clubs always play against some of the bigger teams and try and up their game to get early points to start their seasons. West Brom last weekend were dismantled at Everton, and I feel as though this game for Chelsea is a perfect opportunity for us to put a stamp down in the Premier League to show that what happened last weekend really was just a result of a couple of individual moments that went against Chelsea Football Club. So, before we get into anything, I want to ask you to subscribe to GBFC. Thank you for 160,000 subscribers. I think at the time of me recording this, we could even hit it at the time of me recording. So that's awesome. So thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications and hit the like button. I think Chelsea are going to get 3 points tonight because I firmly believe, as I do with every game, that Chelsea have got a very good chance of winning. Normally, I like to approach things with optimism. Some people think sometimes it's a little bit delusional or blindingly optimistic. But what I've seen so far this season from this Chelsea team is very positive. We've also obviously got the positive news of Edouard Mendy signing. There's still talks of Declan Rice, and in yesterday's Chelsea news video I talk about that one. But we're going to start off by naming the goalkeeper. And this one's tough because Kepa last week made evident mistakes and probably was the overriding reason why we lost the game. If you think about Christensen's red card, if Kepa wouldn't have ran out like a headless chicken, then Christensen could have stayed with Mane a little bit longer, tried to muscle him off the ball, or tried to show him over to narrow down the angle so that Kepa could have made the save. Erratic mistake there, and then obviously the evident mistake when he loses the ball inside the 6-yard box doesn't really bode well for anybody. So, for that reason, confidence and also Willy Caballero's convincing display against Barnsley, I'm starting off with Willy Caballero in goal for this one. I think that we know he's a very, very reliable second choice goalkeeper. Again, similar to what we saw last week from Kepa, Caballero is liable to make a mistake, but I think he will start due to Kepa's confidence in this one. Chelsea can't take any chances. Doesn't matter how much a player costs or how much wages they're on, whether they have the number 1 on the back of their shirts. Chelsea need to focus on fielding the side each game that is the most confident to go on and win the game. So Caballero starts in goal for me, Kepa's on the bench. We move into the right back position, and again, this one is very tough. When it comes to building these Chelsea teams, in the early stages of this season, there are arguments for so many different players across so many different positions. Right back, I've given it to Reece James. I think he's made a very good start to the season. We know that in terms of the long-term future of the right back spot at Chelsea, Reece James is that guy. He signed a new deal. Chelsea looked to him and England looked to him to be one of the potential starters for many years to come. And I think what we've seen in the early stages of this season, that Chelsea do look a lot more assured defensively. And I think playing alongside Thiago Silva, who had a brilliant 60-minute debut. I think he made like one half mistake in the game against Barnsley. I think Silva will start this game in the Premier League. I think we saw enough from his leadership and his ability within that game against Barnsley to suggest that he's fit, he's ready to go. I think he'll start, and if it's not going Chelsea's way, we can obviously see how the defenders come off the bench. Reece James alongside Thiago Silva, Premier League debut. Next to him is probably the best centre-back at the club right now, Kurt Zuma. His performances have been brilliant. I think with new defensive coaches at the club, we're seeing the ability that we've always known that Zuma has. When you get new coaches in, you get new ideas, you get new confidence that comes through in your game, and I think we're seeing that right now from Zuma. He made tons of aerial clearances in the game against Liverpool, and even though Silva's obviously the man who everybody's talking about because he's just come in, he's one of the biggest centre-back names in football for the past 10-15 years, Thiago Silva alongside Zuma could become a very strong central defensive partnership for Chelsea. We move in to the left-back position, and we saw him come off the bench and already register an assist. Frank Lampard has come out and said that Ben Chilwell could well become the best left back or one of the best left backs in world football. When a manager like Frank Lampard, who's been there and done it all at the top of the game at Chelsea Football Club, when Lampard comes out and says this kind of thing to Chilwell, it instills a lot of confidence in the player. He's been brought in to replace Ashley Cole, who was the greatest left back in my opinion the Premier League has seen. He was Chelsea's left back for many years, and we've seen Alonso come in and he's kind of done a job, and then we've seen him struggle. Emerson, I mean, he's even playing on the right wing now. So the left back role has been a vacant position for someone to lock it down for the long term. Ben Chilwell's come in. It was a very positive debut. He looks fit, he looks sharp, he was running down that left-hand side. And if he's fit, I think he'll be Chelsea's #1 left back, and he's got to start this game for me against West Bromwich Albion. Now we move into the midfield, and it is a two-man pivot, and I've gone with the double K, Kante and Kovacic. I think Kante, of course, we've seen since he's been back fit, he really does look sharp again. I thought his first two performances were very good. Mateo Kovacic played the game against Liverpool last weekend, and he does look fit, he looks ready, and I think obviously as player of the season last season, seeing these two play, it kind of gives Kante that ability to roam forward a little bit more, to offer something to the Chelsea attack, which we know he's developed into his game. In recent times, Mateo Kovacic is obviously that anchor man in the middle who transitions the play from the defence through the midfield, makes the tackles, dribbles forward, and starts off Chelsea's creative play. Now again, there's always been an issue with the injuries of Christian Pulisic and Hakim Ziyech, and Frank Lampard has confirmed that neither player are going to be ready to feature in this one, and I think it's good. We've seen with Pulisic last season that he does pick up quite a lot of little injuries, and if he's not fully fit, Chelsea do have a very big squad, and this is where it's very useful for us this season, having various players that are versatile, that have the ability to play in various different positions, and across the midfield three, there could be a variety of different ways that this one could line up, but we're going to start with the right-hand side, and again, this is the one that is really up for debate. I put Mason Mount on the right, just because I think in the centre, Kai Havertz is a more complete player in a central area than Mason Mount. I'm not saying that I don't rate Mount in the centre. I think we know that Mason's best position is the centre, but Chelsea need to make do with what they have, and I think we will see a lot of rotation when Pulisic and Ziyech are fit. With these guys playing on the wing, Havertz in a central role, Chelsea are going to try and find a way to bring Mason Mount in, because we know that he does provide a lot to this Chelsea side with his pressing, with his ability to get into the box as well, very similar to Havertz. Going to stick Mason Mount on the right with Havertz in the middle and Timo Werner on the left. I mentioned it in the 6 Things We Learnt video with the brilliant performance of Tammy Abraham. I think it would have given Frank Lampard a massive selection headache. We saw Olivier Giroud come on and score a header as well. And for this game against West Brom, I think it's a perfect one again to try and use Werner in a different position, to try and incorporate both him and Tammy in the starting 11. I thought Tammy looked very sharp, he looked hungry. I think the goal he scored was a beautiful finish, again, very instinctive, getting that touch out of the body, tucking it into the bottom corner, and then he turned up with assists as well. We're seeing some good link-up play between Tammy and Havertz. We've got to remember that even though these players haven't played together for a long time, they're of a similar age. They're all obviously got similar interests off the pitch. We've seen that obviously Werner and Havertz have been out together in London. There seems to be a real good camaraderie right now between these Chelsea players. Ben Chilwell and Timo Werner. Ben Chilwell's coming up and poking his finger in Timo's mashed potato. There are loads of crazy things going on in this Chelsea team, and I think the link up on the left-hand side between Chilwell and Werner could be a key one for Chelsea moving forward in this game. It's obviously the first time we'll see the combination. Timo Werner might end up being the striker. We could see Mount on the left. Callum Hudson-Odoi, don't think he did enough for me in that game against Barnsley to warrant a start in this one. And it's going to be tough to try and incorporate these players in their preferred positions. If I look at the bench, there are so many different players that I could put in there, but unfortunately, with a squad as big as Chelsea's, with the quality that we have, there are always going to be players that have to miss out, and it's always a catch-22 and a balancing act where if you've got a couple of players that are out of form, such as a Ruben Loftus-Cheek or a Callum Hudson-Odoi, do you omit them from the squad completely because other players are in better form? Or do you look at the bigger picture and think, right, we know that Ruben would have a lot to offer if he gets the opportunity and builds his confidence. We know that Callum does too. Do we throw those guys on the bench and make other players that are performing consistently well? Do we leave them out? It's so tough right now for Frank Lampard. Unfortunately for Chelsea, the matchday squad is only as big as 7 substitutes and only 3 of them can come on at any time. So the good news is we've got matches in all competitions coming up. We've got another game on Tuesday night away at Spurs, which is going to be a tasty one in the Carabao Cup 4th round. I thought Leyton Orient were going to do them, to be honest, but sadly in life you can't have everything that you want. Spurs got the win, And that's going to be a very, very tricky game. And I think for Chelsea, despite it being the EFL Cup, I think there's actually a lot psychologically that rides on a match like this. And I think Lampard will try and field a very strong team again in order to try and get one over on Spurs. We did the double over Mourinho last season. Chelsea will obviously only be concentrating on this match today against West Brom. The Premier League is the biggest priority for them. But yeah, we've got so many different players in so many different roles, and there's still injuries keeping some of them that we know are going to be starters out. So it's a tough one. If I manage to get this predicted lineup correct, then I'll be impressed with myself, but I doubt that I will. I think there's probably going to be changes. Who knows what we're going to see, but it's a massive game. Chelsea need to be going for the 3 points. We need to play with that attacking fluid confidence that we did against Barnsley and the defensive positives that we've seen in the opening games. Hopefully we can see that develop even more in this match today. Let me know your lineup in the comments down below. As for my score prediction, I know that you guys are always waiting on tenterhooks for this one because I've got a habit of getting it correct. I predicted 3-1 in the game against Brighton, 6-0 in the game against Barnsley, got those both right. I'm going to say 3-1 to Chelsea again. I think West Brom will try and create chances and try and exploit Chelsea's potential defensive weaknesses, but there's so much attacking quality in this team. I think we'll score a few goals. Timo Werner to get his first in the Prem. 3-1 to the Blues. I hope it's correct. I hope it's double that. I hope we win 6-2, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to GBFC if you're new around here and haven't already done so. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links to those are down in the description. Come on, you Blues. I'll see you straight after for 6 things that we learned. Catch you there. Bye-bye.